Good evening. Today is August 15, 2022, and this is the 111th episode of New Paradigms. I'm your host, Sargis Sangari. Before we begin our broadcast today, we need to reflect on America's withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was accelerated a year ago today on 15 August 2021, when the Afghan government collapsed with the Taliban taking over Kabul. Unfortunately, it happened under American watch and leadership. With the United States withdrawal, America would leave an estimated 100,000 of our Afghan partners, green card holders, American citizens, along with some of their family members behind in the hands of the enemy. It's unfortunate, but it is reality. To my fellow servicemen and servicewomen and to the loved ones of those who honorably served in Afghanistan, some of whom we know made the ultimate sacrifice, I do know that you're hurting today. I know that you're hurting. But keep your head up and remember that your honorable service and also your loved ones' honored service, especially in Afghanistan, mattered and does matter. America and veteran organizations that are out there still do need your service in the future. Please stay focused. Some of the institutions that we work for and with are still identifying and trying to extract partners and American citizens that might be left behind enemy lines. Please stay positive and know that you're not alone. And if you are down, please don't hesitate to ask for help. If we cannot help each other, we're not going to be able to help our nation. My honored guest today is Illinois Republican State Senator Darren Bailey. Senator Bailey is representing the constituents in the 55th District. Senator Bailey previously served in the Illinois House of Representatives, representing District 109 from 2019 to 2021 before he moved over to the Senate. Senator Bailey is currently the Republican nominee for the Illinois governor in the November 8, 2022 midterm elections. Senator Bailey, is good to have you here. Thank you for being on the show today to discuss the issues and topics of interest for Illinois voters, and also at the same time, Assyrian Martyrs Day SB2900 Senate bill that you had introduced in 2021. Much appreciated and welcome.
Sargi, it's an honor to be here, and thank you so much. And I have valued our friendship since we met several years ago when we were both running for office, and just we share the same passion of getting this state we live in, and this state we love, back on the right track, restoration, and we got a lot of work ahead of us, but it can be done. And I just honor your friendship. I honor thank you for what you stand for. And it's been a blessing to get to know the Assyrian community and be immersed in the culture, and just to understand the desire for freedom and what this country stands for, and just lifting that up. And yes, 1 week and 1 day ago, the Assyrian Martyrs Day, I've learned so much from you, and I just thank you for your friendship.
No, much appreciated, Senator. And I know what impressed me the most is when I sat with you the first time and we didn't know if you were running or not for governor. You took on the desire to introduce this bill, but at the same time, when you initially put it in, you did say, look, if you think you could get it through the process on the other end of the aisle, in this case, across the aisle with the Democrats, you were willing even then to have somebody else put their name on it in order to be able to just get the bill through. So with that said, it was very impressive for me and much appreciated. I do want to start with that if possible. And I do know that on May 18th of last year, you introduced SB2900, which was in the 102nd General Assembly that designated the 7th of August specifically of each year, not just that year, as Assyrian Martyrs Day, which was to be observed as a day in recognition, of course, of the Assyrian genocide and the persecution that the Assyrian people have gone through, and to support the Assyrians of Illinois and commemorate really all the Assyrian American, especially the military veterans like me who have served and continue to still serve in the U.S. Armed Forces and also in the Illinois National Guard. Can you give us an update of where we are with SB 2900 and what is the rest of the work that needs to be done for us to make sure it finally passes and becomes codified?
Well, I will tell you that unfortunately, we're probably going to have to switch out administrations to make that happen. This year and even this recent session was a first, as it was proclaimed that many of these resolutions they parked and they sidelined. However, towards the end of session, many of the special interest bills or resolutions like this did in fact go through. I did work with other members on the other side of the aisle to try to make this happen. We were unsuccessful. So therefore, we still have veto session coming up at in the middle of November. We will try again then, and I'm going to have to resolve myself to giving you my word that as governor, August 7th will be memorialized as Assyrian remembrance. So, but until then, it's been an interesting ride. A lot of people don't realize that in the General Assembly, in the House, and in the Senate, sure, there's rules, and we all know we all operate our meetings off of Robert's Rules of Orders. But interestingly enough, here in Illinois, the party in control makes the rules. So many people have witnessed that over the last 4 years, and especially from my Facebook posts and lives, as the rules changed, sometimes midstream, sometimes after the argument was raised, after the question, after the point of order was raised. Sometimes the rules were changed right then to make every argument and every point of order a moot point. So unfortunately, that is where we are at right now. I do not at all believe that this was pointed, at the Assyrians. I do not believe that this was pointed at me with my, pushing back and standing up and speaking out in the Senate. I just believe that this was unfortunately caught up in the confusion that exists in the Illinois legislature, and I hope that people will step up and vote and desire change. And when change comes, and then we've got to do the work to get things back on track and make things right again. And I look forward to those days, and I think that's going to happen.
Well, I hope it does. And I would say to those so-called Democrats that come knocking on the Assyrian doors, if you're listening to this and if you're an Assyrian that is supporting a Democratic representative out there, if that's the case, you better knock on the door and say they better start working to get this bill through regardless. So let's see if they're going to be able to support you. And I hope they get it fixed, as you said, Senator, and get this bill through. Senator, I do have some number of questions that I do want to ask you in the half hour that we have remaining. And for full disclosure for our audiences that might be coming in for the first time to listen to this broadcast, I am also a vice chair for the Assyrian GOP, which is the reason why we have worked so closely together in Illinois. Now, with that said, as I was pondering some of the questions I was going to be asking you, I did collaborate with a dear friend of mine, Mark Vargas, host of Mark My Words with Mark Vargas. I know you know him. His show airs at 7 Central Time on AM 560 every Sunday, The Answer. And also Ann Barlow, who's the Near East Center for Strategic Engagement Advisor on domestic political affairs, and also at the same time Al Johnson, who's the director and the chief analyst for the Near East Center for Strategic Engagement on Southeast Asia and also Japan. With that said, I think one of the biggest issues is, as we have always talked about, is corruption. And with that said, I do want to ask you a question on institutional corruption in Illinois. And really, as you are seeking to be the Republican governor for the state of Illinois, how can a Republican governor have the power to clean up corruption that when you have a Democratic machine that controls almost nearly every facet of life in Chicago, and with policies that are buried in Democratic machine bureaucracies for almost half a century?
Well, I will tell you this, the machine as we've known it in Illinois is broken. Make no doubt about that. Make no mistake about that. The machine is broken. It is not functioning as it did in the days of Mike Madigan. We've seen that. We've witnessed that. The Democrat machine right now is in chaos and confusion. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of entities vying for power. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that that this is the opportunity of a lifetime to get Illinois under control. And then, what do you think about when you think of corruption? When you think of political corruption, one thing I found out during this journey from coast to coast, from California to New York, everyone thinks of Chicago, Illinois when they think of political corruption. So what can a Republican governor do? Well, there's several things that's going to happen. First of all, in the House, we just have to pick up 4 seats, and then the Republicans are out of the super minority. That is going to happen. I believe that the Republicans can take the majority in the House. So then if that happens, then when that happens, it's up to a Republican governor to get to work, to start making things happen. And I'm going to contend that 90% of that is the very reason why I am here. Communication, letting the people all over this state. And that's what's so amazing when we're in Chicago, when we're in Cook County, when we're in the collar counties, and I have face-to-face meetings with people that might not have, favored our movement. Things change just because of a face-to-face conversation, talking about the truth, talking about hope, talking about the future. That's what got me here. Speaking up against these lockdowns, speaking up against these mandates, speaking up against the gas tax bill in 2019. People were hearing things from someone that they had never heard before, the truth, the facts. So communicating, using the governor's platform to communicate to the people and asking them to put pressure on their elected representatives, that's probably the biggest thing that I can do. And then surrounding my table with everyone. And see, that's something that hasn't happened. I came in 4 years ago with Governor Pritzker, and in the first time in Illinois history, the super minority in the House and in the Senate, Republicans don't have a voice, period. So when we get the governor's seat and potentially take the House, we can't just flip this thing upside down as it's been done in the past and just start cramming our ideas down other people's throats. We have to invite them to the table. We have to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. And I can tell you that I believe that when that takes place, that we will begin to create the change in Illinois that we so desperately need.
Oh, look, Governor, I already promoted you to Governor. Senator, there's some things that happen in our lives, daily lives, to include the issues of crime that really they don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or independent when they come after you. And I'm still confused, even as of today, when we're looking at the issues there, when we talked about the institutional corruption. Why is there such a problem addressing the crime issues, especially in the city of Chicago? Is this tied to what you just mentioned with the two sides just not talking to each other, or is there something bigger?
Well, first of all, yes, to your question, to your answer, the two sides are not talking together. But here's another thing that I've discovered while on this campaign trail, and I'm part of the situation. 5 years ago, before I entered this journey of politics, I didn't care what was happening. I just wanted to work. I wanted to be free. I wanted to build a future for my children and my grandchildren. And here, that's what's going on. People are paying so much attention to what's taking place in Washington, D.C. They're failing to connect with what is happening in Springfield and in local units of government. And it is indeed our school boards, our city councils, the city of Chicago, Cook County, Springfield, all the problems and the woes that we face right now, they're taking place on local levels of government. And the American people, the Illinois people, are focusing elsewhere. So we have got to start paying attention. All of this crime, all of the SAFETY Act, the no cash bail, all of these situations have been created by J.B. Pritzker and Springfield. And we have got to realize that and re-engage with our state representatives and our state senators. And until we do that, these elected officials are going to be able to run rampant and do what they do. And that root cause of why they do that, I have yet to understand that, because it is certainly, as you know, we've been with the Indian community for the last 2 days. We've been with the Latino community prior to that. We were with the Polish community last week. And nobody wants our freedoms to be stripped away, but yet every one of these groups have witnessed some of the same things happening in their countries, and they're frustrated about it. So they need the tip of the spear, which that's what I believe I am, to get this message out and push these values so that all of Illinois understands that things can be different.
No, they can be different. And you did mention the Indian community. I'd be remiss not to say that today is actually the Indian Independence Day. They're 75
Yes.
years of independence, and they've been an absolute marvelous community here in Illinois. I do know that the ethnicities always want to be at the table. They do want to have a say and a voice.
Yes.
And it seems sometimes they don't have that. But with that said, as you were talking on what you would do and some of the issues that you would address on your first days, possibly in the office, what would your administration be willing to do, and what can they do, do you believe, once you're elected to restore Illinois?
Well, through the fiat of executive order, we've got a lot of things that we can do to slow some of this nonsense up and make sure that buy some time to get the word out to the people of Illinois. So when the lawmakers reconvene, that they can begin basically repealing a lot of the nonsense that's been brought forth over the last 4 years. And, repealing the Safety Act, repealing the no cash bail. One thing that a lot of people fail to remember or realize that the governor does on day one is create a new administration. All of these agency directors, whether it's state police, whether it's the head of DCFS, whether it's college trustees, whether it's members of the Illinois State Board of Education, whether it's the Department of Health leader, these are all positions that are handpicked by the governor and put into places of authority. And right now, I think what we've seen in the last 4 years, that all of these picks that Governor Pritzker has promoted, they've been carrying his agenda. I want men and women who think for themselves, who understand the problems that we've been through, and they don't want to go there again. So, for instance, definitely placing new agency directors, placing new deputy directors, getting to work, restoring and fixing our education, creating school choice, creating a voucher system where the money follows the student to create competition, to have the police backs, to reprioritize our spending. Sargi, when you and I met several years ago, Illinois' budget was $32 billion, and today it's 46.5. So if more money was the answer, we shouldn't have any problems. And unfortunately, much of that money is being wasted. It's being misspent. So a governor can take that and reallocate in some places, and we can build up our police force, and we can work a lot better, make our mental health issues and advocacy for mental health. We can repurpose that and reprioritize that, because right now that is being ignored. So, and that is my focus, just working on taxes, getting our taxes down, getting our this pension situation under control, making our streets safe across Illinois, and then restoring our educational system. And that's really where the real change is going to start. And unfortunately, it's going to be slow, because you've got to start, teaching our children what they need to be taught, instead of and getting a lot of these woke agendas and ideologies out of our schools.
Well, Governor, it's, this coming from me, I keep on electing you governor. But Senator, I have to be honest, you mentioned the issue with what is happening with basically the money in our pensions. A lot of it is unfortunately tied to what the Wall Street guys are doing when it comes to how they're tying the Illinois pensions, unfortunately, to Chinese Communist Party companies that are really driving how we're being trapped as to how our pensions are being dried up. So for those who are out there who might be looking and saying that, the current senator might be coming after our pension, no, trust me, it is the Chinese Communist Party that is really holding your pensions hostage. And unfortunately, it is some of those folks in Wall Street that are pushing that agenda. With that said, if the two sides work together, I think that there would be a resolution that those pensions could be easily saved. But you did mention also the issue of taxes. And I know that Southern Illinois residents do complain that high taxation is really what's benefiting the Chicago folks more, as far as a heavy burden that they're pulling for Chicago and some of the areas of Northern Illinois. For example, is paying the huge amount of salaries for the Chicago administrators. or administration systems. So my question to you would be, I know you did mention that there's a possibility of being able to, by executive order, to move some monies around. Is there any way that that issue could be addressed, or how would you address it? I think we lost we did. Yeah, it seems like we lost Senator Bailey. These things happen, unfortunately, especially when you're doing live feeds. So we will have Senator Bailey back. I already got a text message from his communication team apologizing for the bad reception there, but it's not on them. These things just happen. With that said, I do want to make sure we do a closeout on the show because, look, we're in a point for the Illinois voters that every vote counts. We got to get out there and vote. You know, today wasn't just the issues of what happened in Afghanistan, as I mentioned earlier in my talking points, but at the same time, there is hope out there that if we work together, we are going to be able to achieve what we all want as Americans, which is a safe nation, a nation that the rule of law applies, and with individuals are elected to office that are removed from corruption and are able to really do what they can across the board to be able to be a good representative of the American people and the good stewards of our taxpayer monies. Today in the Catholic faith, it's the Assumption of Mary feast. And with that said, I think we can always be hopeful that with working hard and strong and smart and keeping the faith, and that we are going to be able to achieve what we wanted to in the long run, which is to be able to have a country that is left for the better for our kids. With that said, I do want to thank the Seven Production for the wonderful job that they do with producing the show. And also just a reminder again that October 23rd, the Assyrian GOP will be hosting a candidate forum in order for us to be able to move forward and give an opportunity for these candidates, such as Senator Bailey, to be on stage, to be able to, introduce themselves to the voters who still haven't heard about them or from them. And also, before the closing, we're going to close out with a video. Senator Bailey was endorsed for governor by both the Chicago FOP and also the Illinois State Police. As we leave you with that video, I do want to make sure that our audiences also know if you do like the type of show that we have and you understand how hard and difficult it is for the Assyrian Christians of Northern Iraq, and this year we're supporting the Christians of South Sudan, please do support us with United Assyrian Appeal, and please tune in next time when we are able to bring Senator Bailey back. All that said, God bless you and keep you safe. This is New Paradigms.
We would like to welcome everybody here today. My name is Chris Southwood. I'm president of the Illinois Fraternal Order Police. We represent over 34,000 active and retired law enforcement personnel from all across the state. And we are happy to announce today that we will be endorsing Darren Bailey, Senator Darren Bailey, for governor. And I just have a short statement to make. Darren Bailey supports public safety, law enforcement, and sanity. Three things that are definitely not priorities in the current administration. It's time we had a governor who places the rights of citizens before those of criminals, a governor who helps police officers do their jobs rather than punishing them, and who will help us all feel safe again in our neighborhoods and streets. Darren Bailey will be that governor. Come on up, Senator.
Thank you.
Darren.
Thank you.
John, do you have a few words to say?
Good morning. My name is John Catanzaro, president of Lodge 7 here in Chicago. Senator Bailey has definitely done the work. For the last 2 years, he has crisscrossed this state and shown everybody in law enforcement that he backs them. Unlike many of the politicians in this state, this profession has been under a relentless attack an historic relentless attack for 2+ years by the Democratic Party. There is no other way to slice it, and I hate to make it about left and right, but you can't get away from it. So when the Safety Act was passed, this organization on a state level, and of which Lodge 7 makes up half of it, said the politicians responsible for that Safety Act cannot get endorsed by the FOP or supported in any way, shape, or form. They just cannot. They have made this city less safe. They have made this state less safe. Senator Bailey, soon to be Governor Bailey, is going to change this dynamic. There is a plan to try and address the crime in Chicago so it doesn't filter out to the rest of this state. I know some of you are thinking, and I know we're not going to take questions, so I'm just going to address it so you don't put your own spin on it. But this Lodge 7 specifically, endorsed Irvin for the primary because the state did not endorse in the primary. We did that for one simple reason. We thought Richard Irvin had the best chance to beat Pritzker. Darren Bailey proved us all wrong. He got historic numbers north of 80 that many of our own members didn't think he could do. So when we had the conversations on the state level, I was part of those talks. And even though I know which way our lodge was going in the primary, I said, don't count out Darren. Our officers respect people that do the work and crisscross this state. And I look forward to a partnership with Senator Bailey going forward and try to get this city back on track. So with that, I'll give you Senator Bailey.